Hello again, everybody, and welcome into the Take the North podcast, along with Dan Wiederer of the Chicago Tribune and frequent important score contributor. I am Mark Grote of Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. We collectively, Dan and I, cover the Chicago Bears on a daily basis. That is what we do, home and away. Weed Z, what's up, my man? How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. As you know, it's baseball season. Big run rule win in Libertyville on Tuesday night. And even more wonderful because we got a special guest on today's episode. And it's somebody we've been trying to get on the podcast for a while. He's joined us on the airwaves of 670 The Score a couple times, you and I, Mark Grote. But we've got him here on Take the North today, which will be a great momentous moment for this pod.
You're damn right. And one of the things that he told us when we were just talking off the air was, guys, just do me a favor. Like, don't keep me backstage a really long time. And like, I feel dumb just sitting back there and watching two grown men talk while I just sit backstage doing nothing. So
In the fake green room. Yeah.
In the fake green room. So without further ado, let us bring in from The Athletic. He's their top guy. He's their only guy. He's Kevin Fishbain of The Athletic. What's up, Fishy Business? How you doing, my friend?
What's up, guys? It's an absolute honor. And if Dan is the important 670 Score contributor, I am the other 670 Score contributor.
You, my friend, are just as important. We appreciate and treasure your insight on 670 The Score, Mr. Kevin Fishbain. And seriously, thank you for coming on this year podcast. We know that you are performing a podcast these days.
Yes.
So technically, you could have been small and said, sorry, guys, I got my own thing going on here, so I don't really have time for Take the North anymore. But not one time have you big timed us, and that's why we love you, Kevin Fishbain.
Well, except for all the other times I did big time this podcast. But other than that, yes.
Or any time that I've asked you to be on The Score that wasn't between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Well, I got these
poor
kids.
Grote always asked me to come on The Score during my kids' dinner time.
During bedtime, right? Yeah.
Basically, yeah. That's been my luck.
I mean, like, listen, when Grote takes over overnights, in addition to all the other things she has to do.
Yeah, well, I already did that. That's so 3 years ago, Fishbain. I mean, my goal in life is to conquer every unnecessary shift in radio, the shifts that nobody else wants, and I think I've done a pretty good job at it. Thank you very much.
I think you have, and I'm sitting here thinking, what would Grobber be telling us about Platteville these days?
Let me tell you about it was way better than this crap in Burbanet. A lot of people think that was cool. You got to get away for a while. The people commuting back and forth, having hibachi dinners in Burbanet, which I know was a great.
Yeah, we're going to get to some of that at some point before we let Kevin free because, man, there are some Burbanet memories over the years that need to be explored and unpacked and brought to the masses. Fish is, I'm glad to have him here. You know, Grote, you know as well as anybody that we get this like summer break away from the media room at Haugh Hall, and you can't wait to have it. And then you get a few weeks into it and you're like, I can't wait to be back in there, just, you know, doing the shtick and having the conversations and going through it. And so we're going to start that here, Kev, right? Like it's time. We're on the runway to get back onto training camp. And I know you love to be in that back corner of that media room participating in the hijinks.
I do. You know, and I know we're going to get to this too. I have a sort of a warm feeling every time. I hope that wasn't too personal, but I do have a warm feeling every time when it's the start of training camp. Because I do miss like that first day Burbanet. You got a room key to our little dorm at Haugh Hall, and you know you and everyone's watching the players bring their garbage bags of things, and then we're all at Brickstone having dinner that night. It does bring back memories of it's kind of a first day of school feeling, and just like the first day of school is really fun. Then like the 12th day of school, you're like, why do I have so much homework? And then by the 78th day of school, you're kind of wondering,
I don't want to be here anymore.
And at that point, you're like, why did they hand the ball to the backup center at the goal line? And then by the end of the school year, you're like, I can't believe I have to change teachers again. So it just kind of goes in circles.
Yeah. So Grote, I understand that you're going to take us into the teeth of training camp with some news you got for us.
Yeah, guys. As I received a text today from a Bears fan and actually a former score person, Julie Swyka, as a matter of fact. And she sent me a text saying the following. I shall read the following text. Good morning. Have you seen the Bears training camp ticket situation? Minutes after the Bears announced free tickets were available, Every date, in capital letters, every date was sold out. Bang. That means exclamation point. The first date I tried was Saturday, and look how many people were ahead of me in the queue. And then she put a bunch of laughing emojis. There were, gentlemen, 6,595 people ahead of her in the queue for that Saturday practice. And guys, I'm sure we could probably go back and look at some of these training camps and the numbers, and they probably were the excitement may have been comparable. But man, people are pouncing on these tickets for training camp. There's a lot of interest and excitement in the Bears, as there always is.
And I would say, Grote, only 6,400 of those were Greg Braggs' burner phones trying to get in. I will tell you this. Last year, so Dan, you probably know this too. One of the funniest things about this job is when people ask you for Bears tickets, and the answer is always like, no, I can't help you. But I do feel like I have a better chance of getting somebody tickets to a Bears game than I do training camp. People ask me about training camp. I'm like, no chance. Last year, I actually did experience the fan part of this. My wife and I, we had our phones and laptops ready for 10 a.m. because we wanted to get tickets so my kids could go see training camp. And like we were all set to go. By 10:02, it was like felt like they were all gone. So
here's the difference in the present day is that you have more limited dates, right? And because they're back at Haugh since COVID and since they moved out of Burbanet, you just don't have as many seats and you don't have as many fields, and there just aren't as many things and places to put people. And so it does become a sort of an exclusive invite that people have to fight for. It's like concert tickets to your favorite band. And so there's always going to be energy when we get those public dates. How many public dates are there this year? I didn't even stop to count.
It actually increased. I want to say it's 13. I think
it's either 12 or 13.
Yeah. They opened up, and I think the best ticket is if you get the joint practice ticket.
Sure. Two of them
the big
this
one.
year.
Yeah.
Two of them. Yeah. So you get to see Josh Allen this year. You get to see Tyreek Hill this year. If you get to one of those joint
Mitch
practices.
Trubisky this year.
Mitch returning to Haugh, which I think, like, honestly, there's something there. Like, it's going to be interesting.
There's definitely something there.
If the Bills allow us to talk to Mitch, because Mitch walking back onto the grounds of those practice fields it's like a really fascinating moment, right? Like, given everything that he went in there. By the way, on the way to Cooperstown a couple weeks ago, we did a lunch stop in Mentor, Ohio, and decided that the Panera in Mentor, Ohio was one of the most inefficiently run Paneras that we've ever been to in our life. So there's a little note from Mitch Trubisky's hometown that maybe that they need to process a little bit better.
All right. Now that you brought up Mitch Trubisky, and we know that Justin Fields is starting for the Jets this year, right? He's going to be their starter this year. And I'll start with you, Kevin, and I want to hear your answer too, Dan. Who will have had a longer and better career in the NFL, Mitchell Trubisky or Justin Fields?
Oh, good question.
Thank you.
Good question.
Yeah, see, it's that time of the year.
Mitch went to a Pro Bowl. People forget that.
But did he?
We
were there. I was. I saw him there.
I know, but did he deserve it? Did he deserve to be?
He was in a great mood.
He was like the seventh alternate.
Yeah, it was a summer of that was the winter, but that was the winter that led into the summer of Mitch.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it was the summer of Mitch, right? Remember, he was housing beers at Guaranteed Rate Field with Kyle Long and crew up in the right. Like, that was the summer of Mitch for sure.
Yeah, he got, and we were being told now that he was added as an alternate, doesn't count according to Olin. Oh, this is Adam Stasinski just wrote that. He was added as an alternate, doesn't count. That's according to Olin Kreutz. I'm not going to fight with Olin Kreutz. I think I'm Team Kreutz on that one. Didn't feel real.
I'm going to fight with Kevin though here, because we're not going to let him kind of sidestep that question. He's got to answer a question here. It was very direct and it deserves an answer.
And Dan knows that's one of my better questions. So.
It was. Well, I was trying to think, like, is Justin Fields going to go to a Pro Bowl in his career? We're like alternate or otherwise. And like maybe the way the Pro Bowl is structured. Yeah. Like I think here you go, Grote. I think Mitch Trubisky is going to have more seasons logged in the NFL.
Okay.
And I think Justin Fields will end up as like the more productive player. How's that?
Now, is that because Mitchell Trubisky will have been able to play life safe and just exist on rosters and never really get exposed the way maybe Justin Fields will? Is that the thinking? Am I reading your mind correctly? The Kevin Fishbain Northwestern mind correctly?
Yeah, I just think. I mean, look, Mitch has gone. This is going to be his 5th year as a
Yeah.
backup, and he's
Yeah.
played a little bit. So these teams know who he is, and this is kind of the Justin Fields has just done it 1 year, and now he's going to be a starter again. So like, I feel like the league is okay with Mitch Trubisky being a number 2 quarterback. They have said that, and we've all seen how long careers like that can last.
I
And I
also
don't
think
know. Yeah, I don't know if Justin Fields needs more time logged in the league before you could say that about him.
Mitch Trubisky understands that he can be a long-term productive QB2 in this league. And that's why, like, when people would say at the end of Mitch's time here in Chicago, like, I feel bad for Mitch, and it was like, don't feel bad for Mitch. Like, he got a ton of opportunity here. He got a ton of leash. Obviously, he didn't have the ideal setup at all times, but he's going to be just fine, right? Like, he's going to make a ton of money. He's going to last in this league for a long time. He's got the disposition and the drive and the unselfishness to be a QB2 in the type of way that most teams want their QB2s to be, right? Like, be a resource here, be productive. And so he was always going to be fine. He has been fine. He's going to be there. I will also say this for Mitch. The end of his time here on the playing field in Chicago deserves special mention because I don't think people realize how impressive it was. And I've heard from people that were in that staff and in that locker room for him to get benched for Nick Foles and then be needed again at the end of that season to sort of lead and propel that run to, the 7th seed, that playoff berth. The way Mitch played in December of his final season here in Chicago and never really let some of the frustration and agitation he was feeling with his situation factor into how he approached his day-to-day job, it deserves special mention. And I don't know that it's ever gotten the credit that it probably merits.
Yeah, and I guess it's worth mentioning that if we're going in the Wayback Machine, he did win the job that year in the competition. Remember the competition between Foles
Abbreviated.
abbreviated, and I don't know, like it felt like, and I remember Nagy's words. It was like, "Yeah, you got this, but you better perform." And he was obviously on thin ice because
Yes.
as soon as Nagy got a chance to put Foles, I think he was like, "Yeah, let's get him in." And Foles looked like an MVP candidate that day. I think
Run
it
to
really
the
comes.
L. Run to the L, right?
Yeah, run to the L. Run to the L. I think it really just comes down to, Kev, like with these guys, and we'll get to present day Bears here in a second, but it's always interesting to look back on these things, especially with things that we don't have full answers to. Once a guy, a quarterback, and in this case, Mitch Trubisky, and maybe it'll happen with Justin Fields, once they accept that that's who they are, that they're a backup, and I'm sure that's a hard moment for every single quarterback in the league. The Bears have the veteran on their staff right now who's probably having to go through the acceptance phase that I ain't starting in this league anymore and I may not even be a second stringer anymore. Once you accept that spot, much like relievers in baseball, you're probably going to have a pretty good life, but it does take some accepting in that realm.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mitch Trubisky is far from the first top 10 quarterback to not have a long career as a starter.
Mm-hmm.
But there was plenty of those guys who just exited the league and just couldn't make it, couldn't do it. Like there is a skill set required to stick around, and Mitch has shown so far that he has it. And like, I mean, Blaine Gabbert is a good guy for him to look to. I mean, Blaine was a top 10 pick. Obviously, his career did not go the way he wanted. Although you want to talk about a good remember some guys. Dan, didn't Blaine Gabbert like run for a 70-yard touchdown against the Bears in overtime? A Bears 49ers game during the John Fox era?
I
Does that ring a
lose the
bell to you?
year, but it does ring a bell to me where it was one of those games where you're like, the Bears should never lose this game. It's like, oh, they're in danger
Yeah.
of losing this game. And you're like, oh God, this is how they're going to lose this game, right? There
Yeah,
was several of those during the Fox era where you're like, whoa.
He had some moment like that, but Gabbert is still stuck around in this league, and I think Mitch can stick around too. And it's not to say I don't think Justin can. We just haven't seen it. We now know that Trubisky's passed that test, and we'll see how Justin Fields does. It's just if again, we're not hoping for injuries here, but when you're the number 2 quarterback, you're one injury away. Bills Jets.
Ooh.
Could there be a situation where you got Mitch versus
twice a year?
Justin?
That would be something for us.
I think, Kev, you would have to skip whatever Bears game was that weekend and go cover that.
If there's enough staff. I mean, do you guys have enough staff over there at the Athletic to be doing that?
We got John Greenberg.
Oh yeah, Greedy. Oh yeah, man. No, that's perfect.
I'm going to throw this at you though. Like, we're talking about Justin Fields in New York this year, and I ask people this all the time: who's the Jets' offensive coordinator? I know this answer because I looked it up earlier today. But like, this is one of those ones where you're like, okay, Justin he's got a new start. He's got Aaron Glenn as his head coach. He's got Garrett Wilson, reunited with him. And then you're like, well, who's he united with as the OC?
It's got to be a former Bears assistant, is it?
Adam Gase.
Yeah, is it
Yeah.
Adam Gase?
He's resurfaced.
Is it the guy from Detroit?
It is.
Yeah,
Tanner Engstrand, the great Tanner Engstrand. So this is who's got Justin's career in his hands, and now this guy may be the next, special OC. But you're like, man, this is a full reboot for Justin on a big stage in a market that really isn't as super patient with waiting around for results, given the parallels to what they've been through, like Chicago Bears fans have been through.
Yeah, I hate to say it, and it just has, and then we'll move on here. It had unfortunately for Fields, it has all the ingredients of not going to work, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with the New York Jets. I want us to be 2025 training camp at this moment. Again, this is Take the North. That's Kevin Fishbain from The Athletic, Dan Wiederer from the Chicago Tribune. I'm Mark Grote from Chicago Sports Radio 670. The Score. Training camp is upon us, and I've been saying this in front of every mic I can possibly get in front of, Kevin, in terms of the minimum that I want to see in this training camp this year. I just want there to be a period of time, maybe a 2-day succession, Kevin, where we're all talking about, going on the radio, writing on our computers about how, wow, that's 2 straight days now where Caleb Williams has had a great day. That's 2 straight days now where the offense outplayed the defense. And I'm just talking about in training camp, because through the years, through Trubisky, through Fields, there have been very limited amounts of days during off-season periods where it's like, yeah, the offense looks like it's on pace, like it's ahead. What do you think about that? And what do you want to see at the minimum as we enter into this training camp, Mr. Fishbain?
Sorry, Grote. I was trying to picture how many different mics you were standing in front of, telling them about this, like Singletary, Mike Brown. These all the different mics. This is where Studs puts in a little, butt in post.
Yeah, or just add several mics into the queue. Get on Wikipedia. Give us
Mike
every
North?
mic. Yeah,
Mike
North. North. Yeah, every Bears associated mic needs to be in the chat before this segment is over.
Mike Mulligan. So what was your
Chuck Swirsky was on this morning, by the way.
So I was thinking, I know we're on 2025, but you brought up the other quarterbacks. I remember one year in training camp, we were putting together some kind of like things you're looking for. And I think I wrote, like, I want to see the Bears offense sustain drives.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed like such a low bar, but you're out there and you just like can just keep the football, get first downs, and score a touchdown. Like, it shouldn't be hard. And I remember last year, like one of the biggest changes I thought with Caleb Williams was like he was really good in 7-on-7. Like, it was really refreshing to see quarterbacks just go, pew, 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 like very accurate, like, and it's good. And I don't think you should, you don't take it away from that. That's important. Like, there's a reason they do that drill. But then when the team drills came out, it was like, we had the same narratives we have every year. Like, well, it's a new offense, it's a rookie quarterback, and it's a veteran defense. And like, I am nervous that it's going to be week 2, and we're sitting there and you don't want to fall into that. Like, well, look, Dennis Allen's a great coordinator. Look at all the guys they got back there. And, Caleb's still trying to figure it out with Ben Johnson. You got brand new offensive linemen. They're all trying to get on the same page. And you just don't want to fall into that year after year. So I think you're right, Grote. It's like, can this offense just string together successive days of just looking good? Like, practice is supposed to lean toward the offense. Like, they can't really rush the passer. Like, you're supposed to score a lot. You're supposed to get a lot of first downs, and we don't get to see that very much at Haugh. So I think it's a great starting point for what you want to see at Haugh Hall this summer.
Grote has asked for consistency in that regard, and you just want to see some things carry over from day to day. What I want to see a little bit is some urgency also with some of what you just talked about, Kevin, is not being like, oh, well, shrugging past the really bad day and being like, oh, well, it's new offense that, these days are going to come. Like, no, I want to see some urgency, because your head coach stood up at the podium in January and said, we can win, and we can win now. And he's approached every day that he's ran a practice that we've watched out at Haugh Hall with that sort of like foot on the gas pedal mentality. And so I think that's going to be a good addition to this camp, is that sense of urgency. What I want to ask you is, married up with that, as you see and have learned a little bit about Ben as a personality, and you know a little bit about Caleb Williams' rookie year in 2024, what do you see as the, I guess, vibe between the two? Because I think that there is an evolving relationship there that's going to be really, really important to this thing getting going.
Caleb said he wanted tough coaching. So, let's see it. Let's see what that looks like and what the result is and how he gets there. I mean, we can sit here and talk about guy's got all the talent in the world. We all know that. And I think he's a smart football player. And last year just went haywire. So I want to see, what does this kind of quote unquote tough coaching lead to? And how do we see that in their relationship? And look, if this thing works out, we'll be talking about this great bromance between coach and quarterback, right? We'll be talking about how the two of them, we'll hear stories about, Ben getting on him in the film room and Caleb learning from it and fixing it and doing all those things. But, you have to get to that point. So I'm very curious to see, okay, you said you wanted the tough love. You said you wanted this. You got the guy that you wanted. Okay, but now execute it. Now do the things that the coaches are telling you to do. And he should be more than capable of getting there. Again, it's just it's so hard with this, guys, because we go this year after year. I just want to see it. You just want to you want the proof.
Tell me about it.
That's a nice thing about Ben Johnson, where it's yes, we have questions about what he'll be like as a head coach, but at least we can look at the Lions and say, okay, this is one specific thing that's very important to winning football games that this guy is really good at. We saw it. And just the Bears haven't given us a lot of stuff that we've been able to see, especially the quarterback spot. So I want to see how this, it works out. And I'm telling you what, Grote, going back to your point, I don't know how excited I feel like I'm going to get after Caleb has his first good day, because I feel like I'm going to have these little voices in my head being don't remember when that one great day that Mitch had. Remember when Jay didn't throw an interception for 4 days?
Yes.
It's that's where he comes back to that consistency, stacking the days, and then how is it going to lead to what we see in at the opener?
I also want to go back to what you're saying about Kevin wanting the tough coaching aspect of this. And do you think, and this is open for all of us to discuss this, do we think that there is a limit in any way to how hard Caleb Williams is going to be coached? Because there's been it's been the story. Hey, the coach yells. Oh my God, he's in the face. And we've even heard Caleb Williams joke around about it. So, oh yeah, man, he yells at man, he gets in my face, but we're cool. We hang out in the office. We have lunch and stuff when he's not yelling at me. Is there any of this with a guy who has been a star his whole life? Is there any of this that is, be careful what you wish for with Ben Brown, because here he is in your face? Do you really want this hard coaching?
It's a great question. I think that's what we're going to find out, because if there is a schism there, this all falls apart. This just doesn't work. And we go back to what we've gone through over and over again with the coach quarterback not lining up. I mean, I will say this.
I don't want to project that. I don't want to. I'm not trying to put that out there in the DNA.
But you can't ignore the possibility.
Yeah. Worst case scenario. And from what we saw in OTAs and minicamp, I haven't seen hints of that being an issue.
Nor have I.
But we all know that intensity ramps up in the summer. It gets hot. Those defensive guys are going to be hooting, hollering, and they're going to be coming after him. And he's going to have some frustrating days. And I remember friend of the program, Mark Potash, once kind of posed this thought, Caleb always took so many of the defeats last year in stride.
Mm-hmm.
And where do we need to see a pissed off version of him after a day of camp? Does Ben kind of get that out of him where it's a rough day and he comes up there and he's just hot and he's just upset, and and he had all the right in the world to be upset with everybody around him at times last year, and he did a great job, I think. But there is something to be said of do you want to see if this tough coaching brings out that tough competitor side of him?
That's the urgency that I'm talking about. And my favorite social media clip of this week. I don't know if you guys watch Quarterback on Netflix, and I haven't started the new season yet, but it's out now. And Joe Burrow is
I've been watching Love Island. So
oh, of course you have been. We'll do that. We'll do that later. We'll get into that. My favorite clip is a sideline clip with Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor. The Bengals are beating the Titans on the road in December, and the win is not up to Joe Burrow standards. And he is just like, fuck that. This is embarrassing. And Zach Taylor's like, listen, you got to relax. Like, this is a win. You got to embrace these wins in the league. And Burrow's like, fuck that. That was embarrassing. The performance wasn't good enough. Right. And I think that's what Ben is going to feel like on most occasions, that it's not just about whether you win or lose, it's how you win or lose. And I think that has to permeate into the quarterback. And I think that's some of what you're talking about there, Kevin, is just that sort of that competitive ferocity that has to be sort of adamant that good enough is not good enough.
Could you imagine the Bears winning a road game by 10 in December and like everyone being in a bad mood?
Right. Like, it would be a great place to get to, right? Yeah.
That is why Burrow is Burrow. Like, guys who are wired like that become great. And I don't think that Caleb isn't wired like that. I don't
just want to see it.
Yeah, you just want to see it. Like, we know he's got this competitive fire. We know he's been geared up for this his whole life. But yeah, like you want to see some of that come out. And I think that Ben Johnson's like hopefully the type of guy that can bring that out of him.
Kevin, I have a prediction here I'd like to run past you, if that's okay.
Oh, nice.
I am predicting, I don't know if I've shared this with Dan or not, maybe with Studs. I am predicting that we are talking about a lot, because there's always a guy we're talking about in training camp who doesn't necessarily translate to the regular season, like Austin Booker last year, right? Wasn't he sort of the story?
He was a darling.
He was a darling. I am going to predict a darling, and then maybe you guys could predict darlings, or just tell me if I'm right about my darling. Zay Frazier, the 5th-round cornerback. I don't know what part he plays on this team, but I think he's going to be the guy that has multiple interceptions in training camp, and then maybe doesn't even dress on game
September.
day. Yeah, exactly. So I have Zay Frazier as one of my early camp darling. Who was the cornerback? I'm trying to think of the guy's name. He was an LSU undrafted guy. I think.
Kevin Tolliver.
Kevin Tolliver. Thank you.
So guys, this is I got to give Kevin his chance to answer this question. But Kevin Tolliver's family came to training camp in droves. And after we got moved out of the dorms and we were staying at that Fairfield Inn over by the interstate in Burbanet, there would be entire floors of rooms that were taken up by Kevin Tolliver's family. Like, you would walk in the lobby and you're like, the Tollivers are back. Here they are.
Wow.
Like, they're all
I do
here
remember
again.
them being on the train, like after he'd had like 2 picks one day. they were smothering him on the Burbanet, or excuse me, I guess, was it Burbanet? Yeah, it would have been the Burbanet practice field. Yeah.
Olivet Nazarene, baby.
J.P. Richardson.
Yes.
Undrafted rookie wide receiver at TCU. Had 57 catches for 733 yards last year. Also was a pretty good return man in his day. He is going to lead the Bears in preseason receptions.
I love this.
And I think you're going to be watching practice one day, and Austin Reed is going to connect with J.P. Richardson on a huge play. And then maybe the next day he's playing with Case Keenum. Maybe the next day he's up with Tyson Bagent. And then people are looking at the depth chart and saying, is this guy going to take Tyler Scott's spot on the team?
Ooh, the Tyler Scott narrative.
I'm going to say J.P. Richardson is going to be the Bears fans are going to love this guy.
I've got 2 for you really quick, and you can give feedback on this.
Dan's always got 2. Yeah.
It can never be one. The first one is Ruben Hippolyte, because I feel like that is going to get kind of hammered into the public consciousness by the coaching staff, who's already been speaking very highly about him. He's fast. Speed shows up at training camp, particularly when you're in those non-padded days. What's weird for me is he's basically here to be a reserve linebacker, or a guy that can play in when you're in your base package, but you've got 2 highly paid linebackers that are supposed to start for you. And so I don't think there's a real opening for Ruben Hippolyte, but I think we're going to hear a lot about him. And then I'm just going to throw Joel Wilson out you, little Mac tight end that Ben Johnson brought up at the end of the spring session as a guy that, like, man, that was like eye-opening to hear the head coach speak so glowingly about a guy that obviously is behind Colston Loveland, behind Cole Kmet, and may have a few like eye-popping moments, viral highlights that Greg Braggs in the stands is throwing out there for the masses on Twitter that make you believe like, oh, this guy might pass Loveland by the time we get to October.
He could be this year's Fendi Anabun.
There you go. You're Fendi.
Ooh. Yeah, there are, God, man, there are so many guys who this year going into that's pure, like Ben Johnson mentioning Joel, what's his last name again? Wilson. Joel Wilson. Isn't that just totally Ben Johnson not being ready to throw roses at the guys like Colson Loveland and Luther Burden, these guys that DJ Moore that he knows are going to be the true contributors? Of course he goes with a bunch of no-name guys.
Well, you can't throw roses at the guys that haven't practiced yet.
That's a good point.
So like for Loveland and Burden, it's like those roses aren't coming anytime soon until we see some practice.
Are you worried about those guys, Fishbain? Loveland, Burden, these guys that are Braxton Jones. I mean, the Bears have given us through words no reason to be worried in terms of they should be ready. They should be good to go by training camp. But any setback, man, and we know how much that could hurt a roster, hurt a team.
You know, Grote, I am aware enough to know that certain things in the past have no bearing on today. It doesn't matter that Kevin White happened. It doesn't matter that Kevin Jenkins. You want to go all the way back to Chris Williams. Oof. None of those things matter as far as Wilson Loveland and Luther Burden's availability. However,
Karana Magaji, Tevin Jenkins.
You know, you just can't. No, but I mean, I thought Ben Johnson made it seem like Luther Burden's ready to go. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you guys are following Colson Loveland on Instagram. He seems like he's in good shape. Seems ready to go. So we'll see. I'm curious. I'm curious to see like how, you know, what's going to be. This is getting in the weeds a little bit, but what's going to be the coaching staff versus the training staff mentality with camp.
Sure.
I mean, this training staff has generally been pretty on the safe side, pretty conservative with holding guys out. Like we've seen guys miss like 3 weeks of training camp, and then they're there day one of the season and they're ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I'm curious to see, but like especially with Loveland and Burden, like those guys need to be out there every day so they can be ready for week one. Like a Tremaine Edmonds, if he wants, you know, like it's, but I think, but we've seen this training staff generally, you know, err on the conservative side. Does the coaching staff? Well, we have no idea. So that'll be, you know, we'll see.
Mr. Fishbain, this has been great. It has been too short as far as I am concerned, but we're going to have more with you here in just a little bit. So hang tight there, my brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing at The Athletic. I appreciate what you're doing with the podcast. We're going to get more into that as well. And so for Mr. Dan Wiederer of the Chicago Tribune and frequent score contributor, valuable score contributor, for Kevin Fishbain of The Athletic and frequent amazing score contributor, our executive producer Adam Stasinski, who didn't give us one mic. I'm very disappointed in the queue, but that's all right. We got no mics to work with. I am Mark Grote. Thank you so much for listening to and watching the Take the North podcast.
Great talk. See you out there.